John Murphy at Murtech.com with your daily news update. Okay, here we are on March the 27th in the year of our Lord 2026, and I'm back. I'm back. Yeah, I will have to apologize for Rumble. Rumble Studio wasn't allowing me to launch my videos. I wasn't able to get my daily news wrap up in last night, and I tried to do some extras today. Finally, about 5 o'clock, they got the problem fixed, whatever it was. I don't know. I guess it's top secret, but I got some great information for you tonight. Let me go ahead and click on my Rumble link and get over here to Murtech on Rumble. This is the live stream we're going over tonight, episode 1869. So let's go ahead and jump into this. Get over here to Murtech. All right, let me pause that. Hi, Debbie BS. Yes, I'm well. I'm doing fine. It was Rumble that wasn't doing well, I guess. So let me slide down here and click the Show More button to expand out the description box. And we have information from Dan Bongino, Doug in Exile, Dr. Steve Turley, and X22 Report. Wendy Bell didn't have a broadcast today, and she's not. I don't believe that she's going to be doing her Sunday morning show either, Weekends with Wendy. But at any rate, I do have some shout outs to give. Universal Chip just started following my channel, and Diz90 just started following my channel. So thank you very much for following my channel. I greatly appreciate that. I hope you're tuned in, and I hope you enjoy the content. Okay, Debbie BS reposted my episode 1868. Cotton Ball and Naz Chaz commented on my daily news wrap up of 325. Uncloudy, Debbie BS, and Cotton Ball 31 commented on my episode 1868. Debbie BS commented on my extra 651B and extra 651C. So thank you very much, folks, for reposting my videos and for your comments. I enjoy reading your feedback, and I certainly appreciate your support. So let me give this a thumbs up as well. All righty. Oh, I got to hug Alina. Good night. Good night, Alina. Don't let the bed bugs bite. All right. So let's go ahead and get into this. Dan Bongino, The Hidden Knowledge Gift. Episode 2482. Got to give LMA a hug. Good night. Good night, LMA. Don't let the bed bugs bite. Go ahead and close the door. All right, here we go. Sorry about the interruption. Let's see what Dan has to say here.
All right, we're going to have to dig deep here a minute. But this is one of those moments we all need sometimes. There's nothing wrong with it, folks. We don't buy into the left-wing created narratives that the movement's in a civil war, everybody's at each other's throats. That's just all bullshit. That's leftist fairy tale thinking. That's the leftist versions of Aesop's fables. That's not what's happening right now. What's happening is no different than what happens every 4 years during a presidential election. Various candidates within the Republican Party go at each other. We come out, we coalesce, we win an election. That's just the way it's always worked. I've been through this before, so have you. Do you remember how hostile the DeSantis-Trump primary was? Do you remember how hostile the Trump initial 2016 primary was? I mean, this is nothing new. You got to police up your movement sometimes. It's no big deal. Do it with a smile. The truth matters. The process matters. Folks, why we are such a glorious republic and why we're so different than anyone else. We just are. We are the richest country in the history of sentient beings anywhere in the known cosmos. That's a fact. And you live here right now in the freest place, despite all of our shortcomings, in the history of humankind. That's not only the freest, but it's also the richest and is also the most powerful. There's nothing to complain about. When you fight for the place, we're going to do it with a smile, even if the place is a place within the place, which is our movement. We're different because of process. We don't allow star chambers. We don't allow in our court system to be hijacked by charlatans. We give even the worst perps, the worst perpetrators, the serial murderers, the rapists, The terrorists, we even give them process. Why? Because we are a society based in truth and reason and a process to get to truth. The left doesn't want that. The left respects only chaos. It is a tool for them because they understand in the cloud of leftist-induced chaos, whether through messaging or actual street chaos, human beings get lost and they just want sanity and stability back. They just want to get back to normal. They want a regression to the mean. And if the only source of that is some charismatic figure that comes out screaming how this new form of national socialism or whatever is going to take us back to normal, people will follow in times of great stress and chaos. What's made us great is this country has a process that avoids unending chaos and the destruction of the republic. Be wary, folks, of people telling you a story, not the story. People who make bold assertions devoid of evidence versus people who produce bevies of evidence and keep their assumptions in the system to let the process play out. There's a difference, man. There's a war on the objective truth going on. The left has done this for years. It's the whole basis of their war on men versus women. What's a woman thing? That is an objective truth. There's a difference between men and women. When you get into this critical theory stuff and the leftists with there's no objective truth, it's just a white male patriarchy and knowledge is just a construct of power. They have the power and they're lying to us, trust nothing. That's what they want. They want chaos. Trust nothing, trust nothing, trust nothing. You see people sneaking in our tent trying this same trick now. Trust nothing. Trust no one. It's all chaos. Everyone's lying to you. Even people you've trusted forever who've been with you through all the fights, don't trust them either. But trust me because I have this hidden knowledge. Folks, the people who have this hidden knowledge, by the way, they always tell you a story, not the story. And if you notice the hallmark of all their stories, they're fascinating. And I don't mean that in a qualitatively good way. They're fascinating. They're endless pseudo connections of disparate facts. A Lego here, a Lego there. We showed you in that video. They never actually connect the Legos, but you do because they're charismatic delivery systems. Just because they tell you a fantastic story doesn't mean any of it's actually true. Folks, the process is what makes us different. The process is what makes us different. Once we invert the process and everyone is guilty until proven innocent, this is nothing more than a thugocracy. I've warned you about this many times. It's starting to seep in. I want to show you what I mean by this hidden knowledge grift. Again, people like me who go and swear in are forced to produce court-ready material and facts. We're not here to produce bold opinions on the other side. You're there to produce bold facts. That's the way our process works to prevent innocent people from being targeted by a weaponized government. Not like that's happened before, using Legos that never connect. They always claim, however, to have this hidden knowledge that they never actually get to. They never actually tell you what it is. And people keep falling for it. Hat tip, is this a Milk Bar TV? I want to show you what I mean. I don't want to get overly over the top in it about one person. Really, I've had enough of the whole thing. But take a look at this compilation from Milk Bar TV here of Candace Owens on the Charlie Kirk investigation. Whereas we had to produce facts, her producing tomorrow's episode. Check this out.
Close to something, keep going, and we are definitively getting closer to what took place on that day, and we are getting closer. I think we're close. We are definitively getting closer. We're getting close. We're getting close. Very close. We're inching ever closer. We are now, I believe, extremely close to solving this thing. As I inch closer and closer to discovering the truth, I've got a feeling about that. We're close. We're getting closer to something, and that something is pretty big. I just sense that we're getting close. I sense that we are getting very close, and we are getting closer, getting very close to something. We're getting closer because we are getting close. We are definitely getting closer, very close. We are very close. We are close. We are dangerously close to something. We are very close to something. I think every day we are inching closer to who killed Charlie Kirk. You know, we're getting close. We're inching ever closer. We are inching closer, a little closer to solving the Charlie Kirk murder. And I'm getting very close. And we are getting very close. But I'm getting closer. I'm getting real close. My prayers are with you, Candace. You are close. We are close. And we're getting closer to the truth. We get closer. We are getting close.
Getting close. You see it? You see the hidden knowledge grift, how it works? They've got it. This is the, I might be aging myself, guys. This is the Charlie Brown football issue. He falls for it every time. The football's never going to be there to kick, Charlie. Now showing you how the left embraces this too. Again, folks, it'd be funny if it wasn't so sad. If it wasn't so sad, the tragedy around all of these commentary, the commentary class taking advantage of this widow and her children. But I want you to see side by side how information chaos, the lack of process, hidden knowledge, and the chaos that comes along with hidden knowledge. Because there's no truth. It's just a bunch of randomly thrown out Legos that I told you never connect. The hidden knowledge grift. How the left has implanted this bug on our side, air quotes, and is enjoying the destruction of this and will flip on a dime. As this, remember I called this the Ox's gourd effect? As long as the enemy of my enemy is my friend, they can use that, they will. People they've destroyed in the past. I hate this person. I can't stand Candace. They love them now because of the chaos seated within the tent. They're like, I couldn't have done this job better myself. This is fantastic. Here's Kank. You know Kank Ogre from the Young Turds? I had him on the show once. He was oddly calm that day. I don't know if he'd taken sedatives or what. He lost it on the Piers Morgan show recently. Kank has a quiet obsession with me. It's kind of weird. It's just a little strange, Kank. However, here's Kank and one of his co-hosts destroying Candace Owens. And then in another clip, when Candace was sowing chaos on our side, all of a sudden they're huge Candace Owens fans. It's almost like these people have no principles. Check this out.
No, I'm not going to denounce Tucker Carlson or Candace Owens. Yeah, I said it, Candace. You're the worst of the worst. You're a sellout. No, we don't have to denounce her at all, okay? You're a scum of the earth. None of that money is worth it. None of it is worth it.
There is a concerted effort to make Candace Owens look like she's absolutely insane, but it looks like Candace Owens was onto something.
Candace Owens is not someone that anyone takes seriously, including people on the right.
The people accusing her of being crazy are the real insane people.
Candace Owens, who once argued that the problem with Hitler was his love for globalization and not the fact that he slaughtered 6 million Jewish people.
Don't come at me about denouncing Candace Owens until you denounce Jared Kushner.
People like Candace Owens lead pathetic lives because they're paid to sell their own identity out. None of the things that she says is true. I guess they get paid handsomely. I don't know how they sleep at night.
That's at Dan Burmawi. But listen, thanks for the video. Folks, when you see those videos side by side, how can you not come to the conclusion that everyone else, I'm not talking to the Bongino Army folks, you guys have forgotten it for a long time. This is all a scam.
Okay, I'm going to pause out there. I will include this in my daily news wrap-up, if I can get that started tonight. But he's absolutely right. I don't know what's going on with Candace or Tucker, but they've just like gone off the deep end. I think, as I said, they're doing it for the clicks, not for the information. And I will not share their information as long as they're, going on these wild theories and stuff. The information that I share with you is information that's backed by truth, people that I trust. Let me click on this Rumble link and show you that this video does come from the Dan Bongino Show. I'm following his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. Alrighty then. Let's jump back here. And I was doing a little chatting here with Debbie BS and Susie Poll 2016. But let's slide down here and see what Doug in Exile has to say regarding Letitia James is done. Alrighty then, let's check this out.
Welcome to Doug in Exile. This is where the Happy Patriots are. We've been waiting on this one for a long time. I'll explain why justice comes slow, but sure. First, here's the clip on Letitia James.
Has confirmed they received that referral. We did reach out to Letitia James, her office, for comment. We have yet to hear back. It was all
Letitia James, all they heard was, oh, shoot.
She is the founder, editor-in-chief, chief investigative reporter, justthenews.com. John Solomon is here with the very latest. This is a buster based on what I've seen with these documents.
Yeah, the documents are very clear. The evidence is very strong. Some of it is court records. So Bill Pulte, New York's top cop is in a world of trouble. This is a very serious legal referral. If you remember last year, there was a referral made for mortgage fraud. It led to an indictment, but the indictment got thrown out by a judge on the grounds that the U.S. attorney wasn't lawfully appointed there.
That was one of Trump's U.S. attorneys. They fought it by trying to get her kicked out. That was a Democrat judge. So you have to judge shop on these things. That's why that real estate fraud didn't go through. She's still guilty of real estate fraud. Many of you are going to say there's no justice. No one ever gets busted. It's the nature of most crime takes place in cities. Most cities are run by Democrat judges with Democrat juries. So it's very hard for us to ever perp walk one of them. It's very easy for one of them to perp walk one of us.
That will not be the case where these two referrals are being sent. They're being sent to Chicago, where Allstate Insurance is located. We're a second insurance company where Letitia James took out her homeowner's insurance was based.
Don't you guys see a difference already? It's not going to be tried in Chicago. It's going to be tried in Florida. This is the only chance we have of a win and justice and fairness. So this time, the results are going to be different.
Both have sitting U.S. attorneys. Both have juries with a long history of sending politicians to prison when they believe they've engaged in corrupt acts. And both are getting referrals that have very specific information that Letitia James filled out insurance applications for her home in Virginia, claiming that it would not be occupied for 5 months of a year. That probably got her a better rate. In fact, the house was occupied around a year by a niece and family member. And so evidence is strong.
We're going to get to more of that evidence right after this word from sponsor, one of our partners that really keeps this program going. That's our
skip past this.
Okay, is developing, but more on that Letitia James getting busted. A little more detail on why this one should stick. The story is developing, but the referral for criminal prosecution is a serious step. It shows that even high-profile figures are not untouchable. Trump's posts keep the spotlight where it belongs on accountability and equal justice under the law. The woman who spent years trying to destroy Trump through the courts now faces questions about her own honesty and conduct. As more information comes out, expect continued scrutiny. Referrals like this do not happen lightly. If charges follow, it would be a watershed moment exposing hypocrisy at the highest level of state government. Trump sharing the article, so he's the one who shared this article about Letitia James getting busted that came from his account, ensures the public stays informed and demands answers. Average Americans deserve a system that holds everyone accountable. This is another reminder that the wheels of justice may turn slowly. To the people that go, there's no justice. No, it's just slow. But they are turning. Trump has long predicted that the truth would eventually come out about those who abuse their positions against them. The James referral is one more piece of that unfolding story. Regular Americans who want real justice will keep watching closely. And that's why I'm keeping you guys posted on this and keeping these words out in the news, because I don't like it when my audience is not only ripped off on their insurance, but lied to by the news. Now, here's some truth from Pam Bondi. Posted, American citizenship is a sacred privilege, not a cheap status that can be obtained dishonestly. Today's denaturalization actions reflect the Department of Justice's ongoing efforts to strip citizenship from people who conceal crimes. This is Trump putting the world back to normal, guys. This is also why it never never feels like we're actually winning. Because all we do when we get a win is things get put back to normal. That is, criminal aliens and aliens that commit crimes are allowed to be deported again by our courts. Look, here's another one on net immigration that fell. This is since 2025. See this top here? It says net immigration fell in every metro area. That is in every city area in 2025. In Seattle, this is in 2025. Just because Trump got in office, it fell by 31%. In LA, immigration fell by 67%. El Paso, Texas, 95%. So you can see even Democrat areas are losing the ability for illegals to freely move around. The immigration, they're not having as big of a problem with it just because Trump is putting things back to normal. What do I mean by here's Caroline Leavitt. She says you cannot change your sex. President Trump's executive order protecting women's sports made this happen. This is just announced on the Associated Press today. Transgender women athletes are banned from the Olympics by a new IOC policy, the Olympic Committee on Female Eligibility. This is the first time. This is what I mean by all that happened is things were terrible and now things are getting put back to normal. That is, Trump put the pressure on them and said, no, you're not putting, the Olympics are coming, and no, you're not putting trans athletes into our Olympics. Watch this. This is the difference that a president makes.
And we have put the world on notice that America will not allow men to compete against women in the 2028 Olympics, where we have the Olympics.
Common sense, guys. But Trump did it. What else went back to normal? Look at this. No English, no license. Transportation Secretary Duffy, reveals 17,000 truckers have been pulled off of America's roads. My brother's a truck driver out there, so I'm very thankful. Now, he has a little less competition of dangerous people on the roads for failing to pass English language proficiency standards set by the Trump administration. We will continue to take dangerous foreign drivers off the road, Duffy said. There, simple. 17,000 drivers got their licenses pulled because of Trump. And the biggest change, this was, I believe, yesterday. This is what I mean by it changes just because Trump's in office. This is the Hezbollah terrorist headquarters. Watch carefully because it's not there anymore. It got disappeared. Here's another angle coming up here. Watch this. Boom. Trump made the difference. That's a beautiful early 4th of July. And don't forget to call chapter guys. Call that number.
Okay, there you have it, folks. And yes, things are happening. But of course, you're not going to hear about that on the mainstream media because they're not going to give Donald Trump a win. In fact, they kind of manipulate the information to make it look like everything he does turns to poop, but it doesn't. The things that he is doing are making a difference towards the positive, towards the things that we want. You know, like more security, stopping the rampant inflation during Biden. Okay, you know, they talk about how affordability this, affordability that. Well, yeah, there was 20% inflation during Biden. I remember going to the store and actually the prices doubled, 100% inflation. Eggs were like $1.19 and they went to 4 times. They went to like $4.50 a dozen. It's unbelievable. Grapes were like, you could get them for 99 cents a pound, 98 cents a pound. They went to $2.95 a pound. Okay? I remember gas in June of 2020 being $5.25 a gallon. But you never hear about that, do you? But you will hear. Okay, let me show you that this video does come from Doug in Exile. I am subscribed to his channel on YouTube. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. Alrighty then, let's jump back here and see what Dr. Steve Turley has to say. Something extremely disturbing is happening in Iran. Okay, let's check it out. See what he has to say.
Happening in Iran, and it's not what you think. It's not a missile strike. It's not a ground invasion. It's something far more dangerous, far more patient, and far more calculated. What we're about to find out is that Iran has already lost this war militarily. Its navy is gone. Its air force has been eliminated. Its missile and drone capabilities have been reduced to roughly 10% of their original capacity. By every conventional measure, the regime in Tehran is finished. And yet, they're still hanging on. They're still refusing ceasefire talks, still launching limited attacks on their neighbors. And now we know why. And that is what we're about to find out. Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your Patriot Professor, here to help you make sense of the madness with breaking news and analysis you're not going to get anywhere else. You know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. We are now officially in day 26 of Operation Epic Fury, and what many are calling the first fifth generational war. This war, for the first time, has gone beyond the traditional three dimensions of land, sea, and air, and is extending into the domains of cyberspace and even outer space itself. Epic Fury uniquely fused cyber, satellite, and psychological tactics alongside conventional strikes. For example, one of the things we did is we hijacked the Bade Saba prayer app to deliver psychological warfare messages directly to Iranian citizens' phones, encouraging internal rebellion. It's astonishing stuff. Others are calling it multi-domain warfare or AI-centric warfare or an algorithmic battlefield, again, emphasizing the centrality of Space Force AI maven targeting and rapid kill chain compression. By any objective measure, Iran has been militarily obliterated. In just the opening weeks of the U.S.-Israeli campaign, the coalition can nearly 900 coordinate strikes. They hit over 1,500 targets, destroyed more than 100 naval vessels. They eliminated dozens upon dozens of senior regime figures. For example, just today, it's just been announced that the general behind the closing of Hormuz, General Alireza Tangsiri, was the latest to be eliminated in an Israeli strike. The United States and Israel have achieved what no coalition has achieved in the modern era: complete air supremacy over a regional adversary. And to that end, Trump's strategic agenda was never vague. It was stated explicitly on March 1st. It was reinforced again over and over in the subsequent days. There are four clear objectives here: destroy Iran's missile launch capability, eliminate its air forces and air defenses, destroy the Iranian Navy, and dismantle all nuclear fabrication plants and scientific infrastructure, setting back their bomb program by, at minimum, a decade. That agenda has been executed with extraordinary precision. Iran's military capabilities are now effectively inert. And yet, despite all that, the regime refuses to fall. And this is because the regime has always had a backup plan, which we talked about in other videos. And of course, the Trump administration is fully aware of it. It's called the Mosaic. The Mosaic is the basic protocol of what the Revolutionary Guard is supposed to do in the event of the entire Iranian leadership getting wiped out. So if command and control breaks down, then the Revolutionary Guard is supposed to break up, fragment into 31 separate units, one each assigned to Iran's 31 provinces, each commanding local brigades, battalions, Basiji units with near total autonomy. And the explicit design was this: if Tehran's command structure gets destroyed, the regime doesn't freeze, it fragments. It fragments and it keeps fighting. Each piece keeps shooting. Each piece keeps repressing. Each piece keeps projecting order without waiting for instructions from the center. So this is, again, what's called the Mosaic defense or the Mosaic strategy. And here's the critical insight here. The key takeaway is the fact that if the IRGC disperses into the Mosaic formation as it has, it is an admission that their entire leadership has been wiped out. So this is why many analysts believe there is no Ayatollah right now. There is no supreme leader. Mujtaba is either dead or in a coma or incapacitated in some way, but it's the IRGC, it's the Revolutionary Guard military that is, through this mosaic, running Iran to the extent that they can. So when Iran still fires all these sporadic and miscellaneous missile attacks that seem to have no rhyme or reason, you see they're admitting that their leadership was completely wiped out. And all they have are these 31 separate fragmented units, substantially isolated from one another and they're just basically making it up as they go along at this point. But that said, this is where their strategy really does come to the fore. The mosaic formation for Iran was never about trying to win this war militarily against the United States and Israel. Again, once they split apart into these 31 separate units, they've really lost the capacity for any kind of major coordinated strike. They know they can't win militarily. That's not the point. Iran's real strategy is more psychological, political, and temporal. And there's three things to keep in mind there. First and foremost, they know that what they have to do to survive is to outlast Trump. They know, Victor Davis Hanson has been talking about this. The Iranian regime has calculated, based on 7 consecutive U.S. presidents who never meaningfully retaliated, not after Beirut or the Khobar Towers or after the USS Cole or a decade of proxy warfare. They believe Trump is an aberration in light of that. He's a temporary disruption. So if they can just last the next 2.5 years, they believe someone else will be sitting in the Oval Office. And that's whoever that is, they will default to the same appeasement strategy that so many of Trump's predecessors pursued. And so to that end, if they're going to survive and weather the storm of Trump, they believe they need to win the PR war so as to stop this bombardment. As Iran is deliberately targeting civilian infrastructure, hotels in Dubai, airports in Qatar, residential high-rises in Tel Aviv. This is the Hamas model. Provoke a response, absorb the punishment, film the suffering that they experience and that's experienced around the region, and then let the global media, who they know are on their side, they know they hate Trump just as much as the regime does, and you just let the global media do the rest. They're betting that moral outrage at civilian casualties will turn the American public against the campaign before the regime itself collapses. And then comes the third leg to this strategy, and that is the most disturbing of them all. Speaking of it,
right, he's doing a commercial here, so let me go ahead and get past that. All right, there you have it. Compact storage. The link to this video is in the description box if you'd like to buy one of those.
Here's most. Click on that link below.
Click on the link
right
below.
Now. So if they survive Trump, which they can do if they put enough pressure by winning the PR battle, which will force Trump to withdraw early. If they do that, then third, the regime can reconstitute. Even if the current infrastructure is destroyed, the regime believes that it can use oil revenue to purchase new weapons from Russia, North Korea, and China, rebuild its drone production lines, and eventually produce a nuclear weapon using whatever fissile material remains hidden deep into the Iranian mountains. That's the disturbing thing. It's not what Iran is doing now per se. It's what Iran is planning for afterwards. The remnants of the regime are determined to make a comeback, a return, when they can finally exact their full and awful revenge. Now, here's what gives me genuine hope and why Iran's calculations look to be catastrophically wrong. A number of war analysts are saying it plainly. Iran has fundamentally misread this president. Trump's position on Iran has never shifted. He's demanding nothing less than a full-blown regime change here. He doesn't care who takes the place of the mullahs in the military, as long as they're ready to play ball according to our rules and the rules of the Abraham Accords. All of this military obliteration is a concerted defanging effort. And once the beast is defanged, he's harmless. And once perceived as harmless, he's no longer feared. And the people will rise up to kill it. And so there's no indication whatsoever at the White House, or there's no indication whatsoever that the White House is blinking here. In fact, quite the opposite. Right now, the current deployment of Marine units and the 82nd Airborne Brigade combat team to the region is not posturing. It's a signal. But don't confuse that with a large-scale ground invasion force. Again, all analysts are noting we don't need to do that. Not in the age of fifth generational warfare. Iran has no remaining offensive capability. They're being rendered increasingly harmless, and it's just a matter of time before the Iranian people see that. The real pressure now is economic. Iran's last significant leverage is the Strait of Hormuz, right? As you know, the narrow choke point through which 20% of the world's oil supply passes. They will use it to spike energy prices, manufacture economic pain, and hope that pain becomes a political liability for Trump before the midterms. The Democrats are certainly doing everything they can to help them on that. So they're betting on the clock, but they're at the same time betting against Donald J. Trump. And if the last 10 years have taught us anything, that is a fool's bet for sure.
One of the easiest ways to support this channel is through the Turley Talks store.
All right, we're going to go ahead and skip that again. Let's click on the Rumble link and show you that this video does come from Dr. Steve Turley. I'm following his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. All right. My town is having a no kings event. I'm sorry, LNC. I'm sorry you have to put up with that. Oh, my goodness. All right. Yeah, there's a chat there from LNC. And was there a problem with the sound? I was hearing it through my headphones, and when I checked my phone, I could get sound. I don't know. Rumble's acting weird. But let's slide down here and see what X22 report has to say regarding episode 3868A is financial information. The central bank and Ds using high-level fuel prices for their agenda. Boomerang Detour is over. Okay. Well, let's check this out. I think. There we go. And let's check it out.
In the description. Let's get right into the economic collapse financial news. Now, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, the private West Central Bank, the World Economic Forum, you can see every step of the way they're losing their power. And every time they believe they can use an event to actually explain to the people why inflation is coming back, why Trump's policies aren't working, it always completely and utterly boomerangs on them. Remember, Trump has let us know that he has to take this detour, and he was prepared for this detour, and this is why he lowered the gas prices quite a bit, because he knew the gas prices were going to go up a little bit. Now, did they go as high as Biden? No, they did not. But again, you could see the deep state players. They have two different stories, one for Biden, one for Trump. Biden's gas prices went up very, very high. Inflation was ridiculous. Trump brought gas prices down. Biden didn't really bring gas prices down until later on, but he didn't bring them all the way down to Trump's level. Not even close. Trump had to bring the gas prices down from Biden's level. And then we took a detour. And yes, the deep state, the central bankers, they were going to use this detour to make you and convince you that, hey, look, inflation's coming back. Hey, the economy's not doing well. Hey, fuel prices are going to keep going up. And all of this is going to boomerang on them because this was just a very short detour. And you could see that Trump is going to be right once again. And the Fed, the fake news, the economists, everybody else is going to be wrong. And this is what we're seeing, because you have to remember what Trump is doing right now. He's not just doing this just so he can get rid of Iran. He's doing this to set up the entire world stage to move away from the private West central bank system, because that's what this is all about. And to do that, he had to remove the Green New Scam, which he has done. But you can see there's certain countries that are still trying to hold on to this. But you could see it's failing across the globe. And he had to set everything up where we had an income-based system. We're bringing in currency externally. He also needed to set everything up to make sure that we're able to fund the government. The only way to do that is to reduce the government costs, the costs that the deep state, the central bankers have created over time. And he needed to reverse everything the deep state, the central bankers have done, where they pushed all the jobs into manufacturing and everything out of this country and brought in illegals. So this way they could keep the wages down very, very low to keep their system operational. Trump now is reversing all of this. And this is what the deep state, the central bankers do not like. They do not want this to happen. And remember, this is just the beginning stages. And during this transition period, during the beginning stages, yes, the deep state players are going to try to basically use whatever they possibly can to make you think the economy is getting worse and worse and worse. And remember, what you're feeling right now is everything that Biden/Obama has done, plus everything that every single president has done since the beginning, since 1971, when we came off the gold standard. Because again, everything is cumulative and it just gets worse and worse and worse as time goes on. So even if you bring inflation to zero, people aren't going to go, holy crap, thank God everything is gone now. Inflation's zero. I can go back and do my business and everything's affordable. No, you're still going to have that cumulative inflation. Yes, Trump can mitigate it. He can mitigate it with lower gas prices. He can mitigate it by removing taxes. He can mitigate it by increasing wages. Yes, he could do all these things. But until he removes the private West Central Bank, all of this is going to stay. Now, will people feel better as time goes on? Absolutely. Because think about it. If you're able to pay $1.20 or $1.50 for gas, that puts a lot more money back in your pocket. At the same time, if your wages go up by 2, 3, 4, 5, 10%, does that help you out? Absolutely. Now, if he removes the income tax, that is really going to assist the people because, again, that gives your buying power right back to you. So can he mitigate this? Absolutely. And I do believe this is exactly what he's planning to do, and he is doing. But you can see every step of the way, he is now removing the last part of the Green News scam. And the Trump administration has finalized a massive deal with the French energy conglomerate, Total Energies, to abandon offshore wind projects along the U.S. Atlantic coast and instead pour nearly $1 billion into American fuel production. According to the Department of Interior, Total Energies agreed to walk away from the costly offshore wind leases and reinvest that capital into U.S.-based oil, natural gas, and LNG development. In return, the federal government will reimburse the company up to $928 million, the value of the leases originally purchased under the Biden regime. So these offshore wind turbines, they are so big, so gigantic, that they dwarf their land-based counterparts. And to put this all into scale, look how big they really are. So the Empire State Building is 1,444 feet. The Eiffel Tower is 1,063. The wind turbines are 853. Remember, the Washington Monument is only 555 feet. So almost 300 feet taller than the Washington Monument. And Trump now is shutting it all down. But you can see the deep state players, they're trying to convince everyone that everything that Trump is doing, it's hurting the economy. And you can see Gavin Newsom, he's out there just completely and utterly lying to the American people and the people of California. But we understand why he is lying. Now, his press room put this out and said, for 2 years, average gas prices never reached $5 a gallon. Then Trump started his war with Iran with no plan, putting gas around the globe at risk. But when you go back in time and you look at the gas prices of California, anyone that lives in California, you know this is completely and utterly fake, because all you got to do is go back to 2022. They had gas prices at $5.50, $6, $6.50, some places $8 a gallon. So he is totally lying. But why is he blaming this on Trump? Why is he saying, oh, this is all Trump's fault? Because think about what's coming. The summer is coming. What happens in the summer? Well, California's summer blend gasoline, is coming into effect, which means it's going to increase the cost to 15 to 20 cents per gallon, and it's going to drive up California's already high gas prices during the spring. So Gavin Newsom doesn't want to be blamed for any of this. So he's blaming this on Trump because he knows what's coming. And basically, this is going to start April 1st. So the timing is very, very interesting, isn't it? Now, what's going to be very interesting is that as soon as the mission is over out in Iran, it's going to be in a very short period of time, all of a sudden, I do believe what's going to happen is gas prices are going to drop dramatically. Hey, you know what's interesting? We've all seen the headlines about those medical weight loss shots, but the 2026.
This. We'll see somebody shooting themselves in the belly with a needle.
And as they drop across the country, California is still going to have high gas prices. He's going to have to explain why this is. Because again, you're going to see, and I do believe a lot of the states, the gas prices are going to snap back to where they were prior to the Iranian mission. And I do believe as we control the Strait of Hormuz and actually remove the fear tax, all of a sudden throughout the summer, you're going to see fuel prices really start to drop. Now, California, most likely you're not going to see any of that. And this is actually all going to boomerang on Gavin Newsom. And I do believe that's exactly what's going to happen. But think about what Trump is doing. He's drilling like crazy in the United States. He's producing more and more oil. And I think this is what the deep state players, the central bankers, didn't count on. Because once again, they believe they had control. If we shut down the Strait of Hormuz, we could put pressure on the entire world, but not on the United States. Yes, the other parts of the world depend on that. But the United States, we really don't get our oil from there. And remember, the gas stations, the oil companies, all of a sudden they jacked up the oil prices, the gas prices, as soon as the war started, which is kind of ridiculous because once again, that fuel was already paid for. So that didn't even make any sense. So once again, these are all done through fear, if you really look at it. And look what Trump has done. Because of what's going on in Iran, he signed an executive order saying, listen, we need to drill outside in the water of California off the coast. And he is now bringing in more and more oil. Laura Ingram put this out and said, California is sitting on 600 million barrels of oil locked up for over a decade. I went to the platform Harmony. 60,000 barrels a day, now flowing again. Jobs returning after 11 years in limbo. California was once an energy powerhouse. Now it relies on foreign oil. And yes, they import their oil, which is absolutely ridiculous because think about it. What happens when there's a disaster? What happens if there's war? You wouldn't be able to get oil because, again, a lot of the oil is coming from the Bahama region, which means they got to go through the Panama Canal, which is kind of ridiculous if you have all that oil sitting off the coast. But again, if you look back at the state, the central bankers, this is what they did. We have tons and tons of oil right under our feet, but they decided, hey, let's not use that. Let's go to the Middle East. Now, again, people believe that this is fossil fuels. The dinosaurs created the oil. But again, the earth is always replenishing the oil. So once again, they didn't want people to know this. And this is why they set everything up this way. The other thing that's very interesting is that the U.S. Postal Service, for the first time, they're planning an 8% fuel surcharge because Iran and what's going on there raised the fuel prices. Now, think about this for a second. Did they raise or actually enact a fuel surcharge during the Biden administration when fuel was between $5 and $8 a gallon? I think the national average was $5.50 or something like that. Did they go and say, listen, we really need a fuel surcharge? How about when there was massive inflation? Did they do any of this? No, they did not. Now, people are going to say, well, yes, during this period of time, the post office went ahead and they raised prices. No, this was planned. This was way before anything else. Yes, they raised the prices of stamps. It was a planned event. But again, this was not a fuel surcharge. Now, they're saying every other company's doing it, UPS, FedEx. But again, why would they do it right now? Why didn't they do a fuel surcharge when fuel prices were out of whack? Because you have to remember, when Biden came in, fuel was around $2 or so. Then he increased it to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So why didn't they say, let's add a fuel surcharge then? Why did they wait to now? See, remember, Trump brought the fuel prices down. And in some places, they were $1.90. Some places where they were $1.70. Some places were $2.80. And yes, they've gone up $3.80, $3.90, $4, $4.25. But again, still lower than what Biden had him at his height. Now, the bigger question is, when fuel drops and we go back to where we were before Iran, and then it goes lower than that, is the post office going to remove the fuel surcharge, or are they going to keep it? It seems like they're doing something else here, doesn't it? Were they hit with inflation and they never really took action under the Biden administration because they were told not to? That's very, very interesting. But let's see how this all plays out. Now, again, the deep state, the central bankers are going to try to use what's happening in Iran. And they're hoping that this is going to last a very, very long time. They're hoping that this is going to cause inflation like we've never seen before. And basically, you could see they're already putting out the idea that U.S. inflation is going to be around 4.2% this year, the highest in the G7. And this is coming from an OECD forecast. Now, once again, we've seen these forecasts before, and it seems like they have always been wrong. And I do believe what's going to happen is as the Iran mission winds down and fuel prices drop, because that's what increased everything. Remember, Trump had inflation completely utterly under control. He lowered the fuel prices. And as soon as fuel prices went up, they said, oh, look, inflation's back. No, fuel prices were rising. Inflation is the devaluation of the currency. So once again, when Trump lowers the fuel prices and he brings them back to where they were and even lower than that, what do you think is going to happen with this inflation? It's going to go down, which means it's not really inflation. And once he has more and more jobs, more and higher wages, deports a lot more illegals that were pushing prices up all over the place, everything goes down. So this is going to be very, very tough for the deep state, the central bankers. And think about this. When he starts paying back the Federal Reserve, I'm not saying he can do it right now, but when he does, what happens to the inflation? It slowly disappears. Actually, forget about the inflation calculation. That's meaningless. Your buying power is going to return. And people are going to notice that, because as he pays off the debt, he removes the currency from circulation, which means the pieces of paper that you have, they have more buying power. And I do believe he's going to do this to shift us away from the entire Federal Reserve system and bring us back to the Constitution. And yes, gold has dipped down, silver's dipped down, Bitcoin has dipped down, but I do believe once everything's said and done, remember, these are done because of fear. The market's gone down a little bit. This is all done because of fear. And once you see the detour, as we basically come back to where we were, because this was just a temporary period, you're going to see everything shift. And I do believe that once we shift back to what we were doing and Iran is eliminated and there's no more fear tax, they don't have control of the oil, this is when everything begins to change. And you're going to see gold start to pop up. You're going to see silver start to pop up. You're going to see Bitcoin start to pop up. You're going to see oil start to really drop. And we're going to start to realize that we're going back to where we were before. It's almost like COVID. When they shut down the entire world, and of course this country, everyone thought, oh, look, the economy's in trouble. But again, this was on purpose to put pressure on Trump. The economy was not in trouble because it was artificial. And as soon as Trump said, let's go back to work, those people that left those jobs, they went back to those jobs. The same thing's going to happen now. Everything that you're witnessing is this detour. It's temporary. It's not going to stay this way. And anyone that's trying to use this against Trump is going to fail every step of the way. And you're going to see everything turn around. Actually, it's all going to boomerang on the deep state, on the central bankers. And we could see that in a couple of weeks, you're going to see all this occur. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.
All right. Great information. And, he's right. Like he said, during the Biden administration, I remember specifically because we do our summer trips around the 4th of July going down to Arkansas. Well, like the end of June in 2022, gas hit $5.25 a gallon here in Indianapolis. Okay? And then it was like the next week, right before the 4th of July, it went down to like $4.69. I thought, man, that's weird. Because normally, I was saying in June at $5.25, what's it going to be during the 4th of July, $6 a gallon? But no, it went down. Then I learned that Biden had released the U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserves in order to force the price of gasoline down. Not to mention, the midterm was coming up that year. Okay? So, saw it 419 today here in Indianapolis. And that's a far cry from $5.25, about a dollar's worth, as a matter of fact, $1.06 to be specific. But at any rate, let me show you that click the Rumble link and show you this video does come from X22 Report. And folks, they're pushing propaganda. They're doing everything they possibly can and saying everything they possibly can, just like Dan Bongino was talking about, to get things just all screwed up so you don't believe what you believe. Okay, but I'm doing my best to giving you no nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth. Now, that being said, yesterday, as I said, when I tried to start my daily news wrap-up, I was in Rumble Studio. I sent him a screenshot of what was going on. Right here's my email, and I've just enlarged this so you can see what's going on here. Right there, I mean, I hit the start button, or hit the enter button on this, right down there, the next key, and it just gave me a message at the top of the screen, something went wrong starting stream. Okay, what? I mean, I've done hundreds of these. Okay, something went wrong, but who knows what? I had everything filled out. I tried it a dozen times. I signed out. I restarted my computer. I logged off of Rumble, logged back in, and reset it up. I tried until midnight, after midnight. Then again this morning, when I started to do my extra this morning with Meg and Kelly, same thing. Something went wrong starting stream. Okay, so I sent him this letter. This was actually last night. As you can see, last night at 12:21 a.m. is when I sent him this email. And then I sent again this morning, and they finally got it taken care of. But with that being said, hopefully we'll get our daily news wrap up in tonight, because I got some information I want to share with that. Okay, I've got the live chats here. I'm going to copy these in to a comment. And while I do that, I want to share some information here with you from 1775 Coffee.
Still haven't tried 1775 coffee? Now's your shot. The 1775 starter kit just dropped, only 1,000 units. You're getting the bold dark roast that hits hard, the smooth medium roast, and the Vitality Mushroom Coffee for clean energy and laser focus, no crash.
All single origin, small batch, toxin-free, and mold-free. Plus you're also getting a gold spoon clip because freedom isn't scooped with plastic. A frother strong enough to stir up your coffee and your mother-in-law's opinions. And a black 1775 tumbler.
$170 worth of coffee and gear. Yours for $99. This is for the ones who've been watching 1775 blow up on Rumble, wondering if it's actually worth it. Spoiler, it is.
Go to 1775coffee.com/studio and grab your starter kit before they're gone. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something, just like Rumble does.
Okay, I've copied the live chats into a comment so it'll be permanent with this video. There we go. I love how that turns green and then just kind of fades away. And let me remind you folks that these videos that I've shared with you are videos that come directly from the producer. I've got the links to the videos in my description box here, just below the video, as well as links to the channel of the producer, so you can go check out other information that they have. And these videos that I've shared with you are videos that I've posted here on Mertech.com, where I have over 40 no-nonsense, common sense, logic and truth videos, information that comes directly from the producer. You click the links on here, it's going to take you to their videos. You click on the name of the producer, like Bongino Report, you click on that. Guess where it's going to take you? Amazing, Bongino Report. Okay, I'd like to share all this information with you, but unfortunately, I just don't have the time to do so, and that's why I've put together my daily news wrap-up. I've included here Wendy Bell Radio from yesterday, because I didn't get a chance to play her last night in my daily news wrap-up, and Dan Bongino from today, X22 report. There's this financial information. I think I'll just go ahead and remove that because I just shared that with you. But okay, but I do have his geopolitical information. And we know Anthony Brian Logan, Devoy Darkins, Bongino report with Vince, okay, Black Conservative Perspective, We the People News, says I have 16 videos here and about 10 hours worth of information. So give me a few minutes, go ahead and take a break, grab a cup of coffee and a donut or a soft drink and a sandwich or a beer or maybe even a nice glass of wine and some cheese, and just take a break and give me about 15 or 20 minutes to get this all set up in Rumble Studio, and hopefully I can get it started tonight. But with that being said, I do want to thank you for being here with me. I certainly appreciate you spending your time with me. Please give me a thumbs up. Share this information with your friends, contacts, and family members. If you're not following my channel, please do so. And hopefully I'll get to see you again later. Thank you very much. Good night.